police officer. He's got his whole family. Good kid. Nice kid.
He was very pleasant. Everyone he spoke to,
infrastructure
everyone he's talking to, he milled around,
Anyone has
he'd be back.
questions, you can go over it at the workshop. I'm just kind of,
Oh, well, you call a town hall and you couldn't get to the public works department.
Yeah, when you're putting something like that on,
You couldn't get to the water department, you had to call a different number because they're
Supposed to meet this guy,
building.
he was chemist garden fishing someplace.
So this, we're just gonna move that to the,
right, because I read it's forwarded to the house for the next business meeting, but it's
One number.
discussed at the workshop.
Yeah. Push 5 to go to.
Okay.
I think the other thing that's really was really neat about Mike was that he,
Yes.
well, he volunteered his time with Plum Chameleon. I just thought that was pretty cool. He lives in Rochester, but here he is working in Newmarket. And he volunteers. That was just awesome.
he went to get some maps to show the property and brought back, because a lot of it had the school building in it.
Town employees.
So, at Public Works, so they're very interested in that property, I guess. And I never did talk to, Chris.
you can't let it get to you, that's all. You just gotta keep marching forward.
Sometimes it almost does.
It's here.
You know? Thanks.
All right.
Steal you for 1 minute.
Sure.
Hi.
At the last planning board, I just brought up the fact that I wasn't going to be there again, and they wanted me to double check. I said, I already double checked once, but that there's not an alternate. Because they thought Scott Foster was your alternate last time.
And that happened before I was on council, so. Because when I was chair, I'm like, where's the alternate? We don't do that anymore.
I said I'll double check again.
One side's here.
That's right.
I'll wait for Brian to come. Oh, he's in the audience.
Is Dana coming?
I didn't get a call. I did from other Brian. Good evening, everybody. I'd like to call the Newmarket Town Council meeting of July 6th to order. I have a few things that I'd like to say before we start the meeting. First of all, I think all of you have heard of our very sad news that Mike Gill passed away suddenly last week. And I just want to let the public know a couple of things. His funeral is being held tomorrow in Cambridge, Mass. at 380 Cambridge Street is at the funeral home at 10 a.m. 11 a.m. is at St. Anthony's Church in Cambridge, Mass. And his family has suggested that in his memory, if there's anyone who would like to do anything in his memory, that donations could be made to Club Chameleon in care of Newmarket Rec Department, 1 Terrace Drive, Newmarket, New Hampshire. In case some of you don't know who Mike is was the video gentleman that did all the video and made all the connections for us to be on TV and whatnot at here at the town hall, and did all the management of the information systems. And I'd just like to ask that we pause for a moment of silence in his memory. Thank you. The next thing I'd like to say is Town Administrator Dixon is at the wake for Mike, along with several town employees, and will not be here this evening, and Councilor Morrison is working late, so he will not be here tonight. I will be changing number 6 on the agenda to be continued to the workshop in July. That is the Town Administrator's Monthly Report. And I would like the council to, which after we do the pledge in the public forum, we'll take a vote. Chris Hawkins called me earlier. He would like to speak regarding the school board update, and I'd like to vote as to where to put that on the agenda after we have the Pledge of Allegiance. So if we could all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, I am going to open the public forum for non-agenda items, so if anyone wishes to speak regarding non-agenda items, please come forward, state your name and address at the podium. Is there anybody? Yep, Mike, come on up. Wilfred, could you point that microphone toward the...
Is the sound system working now?
The sound system does not work in this room, but it does work on the television.
That's too bad. But, yeah, well, I missed the last meeting on vacation, but I didn't like this TV thing, but I'm beginning to like it now, because I don't have to meet them. You have to meet them, all of them. Kind of question on the over expenditure for this year. One of the things that they were talking about is, well, first of all, how many employees do you have in the public works between part-time and full-time employees?
Rick, could you answer that, the exact number? I don't know off the top of my... How many, I'm sorry?
6 full-time, 3 summer help.
6 full-time and 3 summer help. Okay.
And a part-timer. Well, why? What was concerning me is that somebody get hurt, was out for a while, and you had to hire somebody to replace him while he was out. It seemed like can work around somebody being sick without having to hire somebody to fill a position until the fella gets, or the person. Just seemed to be, should be able to handle whatever has to be done without hiring somebody to replace somebody who's been sick for a while. That's just my comment. There wasn't, I didn't hear anybody on the council, yet the actual film stopped before that portion of the meeting was on. So we didn't get the ending of it, but I didn't hear one councilor question any of those things to why this was done and why that was done. I know Mr. Dixon, I wish he was here too, he had mentioned, well, this went up 20%, this went up 20%. Didn't ask how much over last year. How much did they put in the budget last year for this year, or for this year that just finished? He's saying it's 20%. Is it 20% after they increase, like the ambulance? Did they leave the ambulance budget last year the same as, I keep saying last year because this is a new year for you.
Right.
But you know what I mean. And
so you're talking the most recent last year?
Yeah, where the over budget was.
Okay.
And it's just 20%. It seemed like everything was 20% over. And I understand the salt. That's a given. But some of these others, and like the ambulance, if it really was 20%, that means it went up quite a bit. Or you had a lot more calls than you did the year before, because you must have put 5%, 6% in to increase last year's budget.
We did have a significant, and if Rick wants to address
So-
this, I'll
Yeah.
let him answer your questions, because he's but we had, what, 300 calls more than last year?
About 200. And the biggest thing was the fuel and electricity for the 3 buildings.
Because we still had to heat the old fire station
In the old ambulance.
and the old ambulance building through the winter. We could not heat it.
Yeah, so that part wasn't showing up on the
That's all
on the
right.
TV the other night.
Yeah, that's all right.
But those are some questions that you'd like to make sure that our budget isn't going up more than what it seems to. Oh, I'm supposed to be talking on that.
We didn't hire a replacement for the injured employee.
I didn't think so. We incurred some overtime, I believe, because of it, correct?
Yeah.
But we didn't hire anybody.
We didn't hire.
It was that was one of the biggest part, wasn't it?
No, the biggest part was the salt and sand and legal
Well, yeah,
fees.
Other than the salt.
Salt and legal fees, and then there was some over expenditures in heat and electric and vehicle maintenance.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Is there anybody else? Yes, dear, come on right up.
Ethel McIntosh, 2 Gordon Avenue. I'd like to see a speed limit sign put on Terrace Drive. That is nothing but a racetrack. And when one car is chasing another car during the period of the afternoon, it isn't very pleasant, because there used to be, at one time, 76 children that live at the terrace. I don't know how many there is now. But I had seen the little ones sitting out on the curb, on the corner, and these cars are just speeding right along. There used to be a 10 limit sign there a few years ago. I think a 15 or a 20 would be good. Thank you.
Thank you, Ethel. Is there anyone else? No one else? Okay, I'd like to ask, before we move on to minutes, Chris Hawkins is here, would like to give us an update regarding the school board and probably school facilities. And I kind of like, do we want him to speak next, after minutes, when?
I'll make a motion to have Chris Hawkins speak at this point in the agenda.
Is there a second? Any discussion? Erica, can you call the roll? Have you done that? You just call each counselor starting at that and go this way?
Starting that way?
Yep.
Willie Hamel.
Aye.
Jennifer Jarvis.
Aye.
Jerry Hamel.
Aye.
Lori Ann Caprioli.
Aye.
Brian Morrison. and Brian Hart.
Aye.
Mr. Hawkins, you have the floor.
No such thing as an over-expenditure of legal fees.
Coming from an attorney, of course. Billable hours.
Briefly, the final recommendation of the School Facilities Advisory Committee is out there in the public domain now. The school board had a public hearing on it last Thursday at the high school. Counselor Jarvis was there, and Rick Mulaski was there. There had to be 30 to 40 people there, roughly. Went very well. The recommendation is briefly to design and construct an entirely new facility for grades 5 to 12, all under one roof, 2 schools under one roof. That the school board take immediate steps to purchase the land necessary to accomplish the construction of the facility and the associated athletic fields, blah, blah, blah. That the school board immediately take steps to evaluate, select, and retain a professional design team to facilitate the accomplishment of the recommendation. That the School Facilities Advisory Committee be reconstituted as a School Facilities Design Committee that would form task forces to take the design decisions and break them down into bite-sized chunks. Have a lot of public input and input from the professional design team. That the school board immediately evaluate the availability of funding, including our existing capital accounts, impact fees, grants, and other sources. The school board continued to pursue its discussions with other school districts regarding the possibility of other students from other towns tuitioning into the Newmarket school system. We've had some discussions. Those discussions are ongoing. That the school board authorized the creation of a separate elementary school master plan committee to evaluate and make recommendations regarding the short, mid, and long-term site facilities and program needs of the elementary school. We don't want to lose sight of that in this process. That the school board, and this is where the council comes in, so you guys might want to pay attention, that the school board immediately authorized the creation of a junior-senior high school facility task force to evaluate potential reuses of the current facility and site, and invite the council, the Community Development Corporation, the Business Association, community members, and anybody else who would care to participate as members. And that the school board adopt the final reporting recommendation of the Facilities Committee, which is still in draft form, and that the school board take other steps that are necessary to accomplish all those objectives. So next Thursday, the 14th, the school board will formally consider whether to accept, modify, or reject, or otherwise the recommendations that have been made. The final report of the Facilities Committee will be presented at that time with all of its exhibits and attachments and bells and whistles. The conceptual drawings that we have, people may have seen these things flashed around. If you go on newmarketwins.org, you can see these things in color format and print them, mark them up, do what you want with them. And the final recommendation is there in text form as well for people to look at. We are hoping and anticipating that tomorrow the superintendent will go to one of our property owners and present a purchase and sales agreement, so hopefully we'll have some feedback on that pretty soon. And our negotiations with another property owner are continuing. That's all she wrote. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any questions of the council? Brian?
Chris, thank you. And I know you were on the committee. I think, Jerry, you were a member of other people?
Jerry was on our site evaluation and selection subcommittee, very important.
I just wanted to say thanks to all of you for that work, because I know you spent a lot of time on it with lots of the emails I've gotten from you. The one question I have is what's the estimated cost? Because I read different things in the paper.
Yes, I'm sorry. The estimated cost of the option under consideration at this point is $29.5 million, which is the lowest, the least expensive option that meets our needs. Not that it's not a lot of money, but it's the least expensive option that meets our needs.
And underneath the current formula the state has, what would be, and assuming Newmarket qualified into the future at this formula, what would be the reimbursement rate?
Currently, it's 40%. That gets revised every October. I do not know whether Newmarket will stay at 40% in October, but it is currently 40%, and it's 40% all in, including the cost of land, the cost of engineering, the cost of running utilities from the boundary of the site to the building, your legal fees, basically your athletic fields, your all-in cost. 40% of that number is the reimbursement from the state that we're eligible for at this time.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the council? Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is Town Council to consider acceptance of minutes, June 1st, 2005 business meeting. Is there a motion to adopt or accept the minutes as written?
May I have a question first?
Yep.
I'm missing the last pages of it. My packet stopped page 5, doesn't have a page 6 in the back. I don't know about yours. My minutes stop on page 5. It says, Town Council to consider nominations appointments.
Oh, there's 10 pages.
Yeah, I don't have half of them.
Okay, do you want to
I think we need a table.
continue this June 1st minutes? Okay.
Sorry.
Nope, that's all right. All
Sorry.
right, we'll table the June 1st minutes to the August business meeting. Erica, did you get that? That's something that would have to go on that agenda. Okay, not the workshop, but August business meeting. Okay, June 15th workshop.
I'll make a motion to accept the June 15th workshop minutes.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Wilford. Counselor Hart, motion. Counselor Wilford Hamel, second. Is there any corrections? Counselor Hart?
Page 3, item number 2, which is in the middle of the page. It says that a video was shown to the public regarding the site walk that took place June 10th, 2005. The video wasn't of the site walk. The video was of the drive-by video that Director Mulaski did of prior to the resurfacing of the
Correct.
road, which was what year? 1999. So it probably should say something like a video is shown to the public showing the surface of Langs Lane in 1999 prior to resurfacing, something like that. The other thing is, I don't know if it's necessary, but I was a little confused with the dog ordinance.
On what page?
The whole, there's no list of the properties that we
I had that question,
put
too.
in there, and there's 2 motions that got voted on, and I'm not sure how he could have done that. So,
You're saying, this is what I thought, that it needed, the list of properties we discussed, not how we discussed them, but just what we said on leash, off leash needs to be in there.
I agree.
Okay.
And, I mean, I'm assuming that what was in the ordinance that we're reviewing tonight is accurate. I'm fine with that just being included. But there's 2 votes, and I don't think we had 2 votes that were 6 to 1.
That was the one that had a lot of motions on the table, but maybe we should just have this reviewed for
I can look at
accuracy.
my own notes.
Because we originally made a motion, then we were changing it. And the first motion never got, they withdrew their motion. If you look at page 3,
Yeah.
it's in bold type.
Yeah, that one got withdrawn.
Right.
On page 4, there's a second one. So we voted on page 3 to change revisions to the ordinance to have on and off leash properties as chosen.
Right,
then
and
to
that's
go-
where the list of properties should go.
Right. And then, but then we have another vote to go to a public hearing on July 6th, as recommended by the Conservation Commission with a previous change exclusive of those changes mentioned by the council.
Yep.
I'm not sure what that's saying. Do you see what I mean? We voted right before it to send it to public hearing, so then we voted again to send it to public hearing, so I'm not sure. I don't recollect that happening. And it's the same vote of 6 to 1, so I think the motion got rewritten as we were going along.
yep.
We revised it. I think there was
What
one vote, 6 to 1.
Well, no, and this is just my memory of it. I think what happened is we made a motion for the list of properties, and then someone said during that, well, what about what the Conservation Commission changed? But it should be all one motion.
Yeah, so
I
I
agree.
probably need to have this revised.
Okay.
I'll just,
So page 3 regarding number 5 dog ordinance, relook at motion, the second and third motion and fourth motion.
yeah. And other than that, that's the only thing I had questions on. Thank you.
And we need to include the list of properties in the second motion.
Yeah.
Counselor Jarvis. Oh, yeah, Counselor Jarvis. Yep.
I just had questions on page 7 at the top, for the discussion about the Railroad Street parking lot. It was budgeted for $24,000. I just wasn't sure, I just wanted clarification that that's what the amount was. And then the pipe has to be extended up there as well. Which pipe?
I don't remember.
Hey, Rick.
We're talking about minutes, Rick, and part of one of the questions Counselor Jarvis has is that, In a discussion regarding the Railroad Ave parking lot, was it correct that the budget for that was 24,000?
It was either 20 or 24, I'm not positive.
Okay. All right. And the second question was, what pipe had to be extended up there? You know what? I don't remember anything about a pipe.
We were gonna put in underground lights like out here.
They're out there right now.
Yeah, we were gonna put in conduit.
Oh, that's right, the conduit's going underground.
So it's
Okay.
actual conduit, not piping. It's
Right.
just-
Conduit,
Okay,
So that needs to be changed.
thank you.
sorry.
That's all right. Not your minutes. Anything else?
We can't hear you.
I'm sorry, I'm thinking I'm talking pretty loud, too. The microphone system in the room doesn't work, and I apologize for that. It does work on TV, but, I'm sorry?
We can't hear really any of you. It's not just you, Laurie.
Okay.
It's just not on.
We'll try to remember, but just go like this if you're not hearing us, okay?
Sorry.
Okay, anything else? All right, so, the motion was to accept the minutes as,
Yeah, I don't think
now
we
we,
can do that.
we have to take that motion away and make a new
I'll
one
just-
as amended.
I'll withdraw my motion, and actually, I'd like to see them back before us
Okay.
with the June, because there's, just to get everything in there accurately.
Okay, so why don't we do this? Motion for these minutes to be amended as discussed here tonight by the council, and the redraft of them given to us in our packets for the August business meeting for approval.
Sure. So moved.
Is there a second? Thank you, Wilfred. Discussion? Erica, can you call the roll, please?
Aye.
Jennifer Jarvis.
Aye.
Terry Hamilton.
Aye.
Lori Caprioli.
Aye.
Brian Meyer.
Aye.
Thank you. Okay. The next item on the agenda is Town Council to consider presentations of petitions and disposal thereof by reference or otherwise. Public hearing, Newmarket Housing Authority Purchase and Sales Agreement. As council knows, at the last workshop, we discussed this. I believe if there's, I'm going to open the public hearing for comments. It's basically, we are selling the ambulance building to the Housing Authority for $1 for them to use for, and help me out, correct me if I'm wrong, senior activities, because the rec department's getting crowded and the seniors are having a tough time operating their Meals on Wheels and doing their functions. So at this point in time, I'd like to open the public hearing for comment. Seeing no hands raised, I'll assume there's no comments, and I will close the public hearing. At this point, I believe do we need to vote to have authorize Al to sign this now? Yes, okay. Is there a motion on the table to authorize the town administrator to sign the sale and lease agreement with the Newmarket Housing Authority regarding the old ambulance building?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Counselor Wilfred Hamel. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Counselor Jennifer Jarvis. Discussion.
I have some questions.
Counselor Hart.
Ernie, hopefully you can help answer these because Al's not here, but I was reading through it last night, and there's the one sentence that I think needs another subject because it seems to be saying a town is doing this, and it's on, do you have a copy?
No, I don't have any.
Okay.
Thanks, Bill.
And I just want this clarified, and I know it's not,
Whereabouts are we, please?
it's not miswritten in any way. It's on the first page, conveyance of property. And so it starts off with the town shall convey by deed the land and building, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
And described in the exhibit to the housing authority for $1 and release of any housing authority claim on land. But we're not releasing any claim. We want you to release claim.
Right. No, it's part of the compensation for the housing authority, for $1. The housing authority would pay the dollar to the town.
Okay.
and release any housing authority claim on land on Terrace Drive previously conveyed by the housing authority to the town for the construction of the present police department facility,
Okay.
et cetera.
That helps.
It is part of the compensation.
That's good. That makes more sense. On the second page, there's a couple minor, I don't know, spelling things or grammar things. I don't know if you guys want to fix those or if I can just give them to Al separately.
Well, we had noted a couple things, but some of it may be legalese as well, because a couple of these had both Al and I stumped, but
Okay.
the attorneys felt that the wording was appropriate, so,
Yeah, that was the only major one. Other ones were like apostrophes and stuff like that.
okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any more questions of the council? Okay, we had, oh, go ahead.
I guess only, sorry, Ernie, that you're sitting down, but maybe you can answer from there. What, assuming we authorize tonight, which I know the council's inclined to do, when would stuff start happening? When would the housing authority be able to start doing certain, renovations, repair, capital improvements?
Conveyance, we would be looking for people to come in and give us pricing on a number of items, expansion of the parking area, handicap accessibility to the building, and conversion of the kitchen area, and some work in the general meeting area. So we'll be doing some interior design work with the Meals on Wheels program, the recreation staff, and the housing authority. And we would foresee that would start very soon.
So maybe by the fall or winter, we would be able to use it in some way?
That would be our hope if we're that far enough along. Yeah.
Yes. I have a couple questions for you, too. Just to go through this, my understanding is that the town would be selling the land to the housing authority for $1, and then we'd be leasing it back from you for $1 every year for 99 years.
Well, it would be $1 for the period of 99 years with I think actually the town's attorney suggested that there be a renewal clause in there for a second 99 years, which neither Mr. Dixon or I had any problem with. But it would be $1 for that time period. I think one of the things that needs to be understood about this project is that we're simply helping to make this happen. It's not that the housing authority, yes, we are taking ownership, but we're taking ownership for a reason, and that reason is so that we can assist with the funding mechanism, and we can't assist in funding if we don't own property. Public housing funds cannot be spent off-site. So this will basically remain a town facility, even though by deed and by lease and contract, it'll be owned by the housing authority. But this will actually be for the benefit of the seniors here in Newmarket. So the housing authority could continue to operate with or without this property. We're doing this at the request of a number of our seniors to help make it happen.
So just a few more, and it breaks down in the purchase and sales agreement or the lease agreement about really what HUD is responsible for financially and what the town of Newmarket is responsible for financially. Right. The only thing I didn't see in there is the taxes, so I'm assuming that the town will be responsible for the taxes?
Whether it's owned by the town or owned by the housing authority, it would be a property that might convey some payment in lieu of taxes, but it would not be taxable property if owned by either group.
Either group, okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Is there any other questions? Okay, it was a motion to, was there a motion? Yeah, we made a motion, okay. Erica, can you call the roll?
O'Hanlon?
Aye.
Jen Jarvis?
Aye.
Larry Hammond?
Aye.
Maureen Caprioli?
Abstain?
Aye.
And just for the audience, I abstain because we have done work for the Housing Authority in the past. Public hearing on grants and donations to benefit Club Chameleon Kids. Mr. Hilton.
I'm pleased to tell you that we've received 3 grants, 2 from foundations and 1 from the hospital, and I'd like to go through them and tell you what they are. The Nestle Foundation has given us $2,000 to pay for the trusses because we're building a brand-new storage shed that all the club community equipment will be going into. In fact, it's in progress now as we speak. It's a 20 by 40 building, and it will be done probably within the next 2 or 3 weeks. All the work is being donated by local contractors and by the kids actually working themselves, helping to bring the wood over. So that $2,000, which we have received, and will again hand over to the town, is for paying for the trusses that will go up. The trusses are very they're storage trusses, which allows us to be able to put the kayaks, which we now have in hand, down at the Public Works Garage, which I'm sure that Rick would love to have them up there. Will actually go up in the eaves, and they'll be up there. They'll be hung. It was set up that way. The second grant's from the Exeter Hospital. They've given us a pledge for 3 years. This is the second year of that pledge for $5,000. This $5,000 will actually buy a bike trailer and also buy some of the mountain bikes. So that will allow us to be able to now transport 20 mountain bikes and go various areas. We have the kayaks in hand and the mountain bikes. That'll be a big portion of what we're going to be doing as far as hiking, biking, and actually kayaking. So this will give us a huge boost to that. So we have that money in hand too, so we'd like to turn that over to the town. And the last piece is the Fuller Foundation, which gave us $3,500. It's a program that's out of Rye, New Hampshire, that's set up for children that are involved in environmental and also outdoor recreation activities. And the scholarship, this money for scholarships, so that the kids can go on the trip. And as you know, no one from club community needs to pay any money whatsoever because of the money that's set up for scholarships and programs that we've got for grants. So this money will be particularly just put in just for scholarships. I also want to just go back to the Nestle Foundation. The Nestle Foundation heard about us in the newspaper and called us and asked us to apply and gave us the $2,000 outright. It's pretty amazing for that happening.
Awesome.
While I've got the floor a minute, Mike Gill was an incredible volunteer for it. The last 12 outings, he took 9 of them. He'll be sincerely missed, and he did a great job and did an incredible amount of work with us. And we have over 100 kids that are mourning too, as well as us, and some of them will actually be going down to the funeral. So it was a big hit for us too, and we want to just let his family know how much we're thinking about them. So with that in mind, that's a lot of money, and I'm pretty excited about that happening. So I guess you need to accept it, and we can then go from there.
Okay, is there a motion to accept the donations from the Nestle Foundation for $2,000, the Fuller Foundation for $3,500, and Exeter Hospital for $5,000 for Club Chameleon?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Councilor Jarvis. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilor Hamel, Wilfred Hamel. Any discussion?
I think we need to have the
Oh, yeah.
public hearing too.
Is there any comments from the public? None? Okay.
Just wanted to make sure.
Yep, no, you're right. I forgot. No discussion from the council? Erica, can you call the roll?
Aye.
Aye.
Mary Hamel.
Aye.
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 Okay, thank you very much, Jim. Next item on the agenda is public hearing on ordinance 2005-06, regulation of dogs. It's a public hearing. And I will open it to the public. Is there any comments about the regulation of dogs?
There are copies up front.
Mr. Dalrymple, come on up. There are copies up front if anyone wants one.
Good evening. The Conservation Commission needed a revision in the current ordinance. current dog ordinance. Parks were not being kept clean and really were a health hazard. We engaged the town planner in the rewriting of the ordinance, and the Conservation Commission implemented some needed changes. We attempted to define a downtown area and restricted use of retractable leashes. The leashes will retract about have a dog on 40-foot of string, and the dog on one end cannot be hauled in by that retractable leash. A dog on a retractable leash can get into the flower beds in our parks, and a 40-foot or whatever retractable leash can get wound around people's legs as we attempt to build a vibrant downtown area. One councilor said a retractable leash should be allowed because his girlfriend has one. Our laws being now based on the councilor's girlfriends. Another councilor said the ordinance will affect a lot of people. We already have a leash law. How many dogs do you see running around without a leash? I can see 4 houses from my property. Each house has 1 or more dogs. 1 dog is kept tied. I allow that owner to run his dog on my property without a leash. The second has multiple dogs and keeps them penned. The third uses an electronic fence and doesn't use a leash when he takes the dog hunting. The fourth is a house dog, never out. I see many dog owners walking on New Road with leashes and occasional excrement bags. Another councilor said dog owners are taxpayers. Duh. Does that mean they get special compensation? Does that mean we have to subsidize the dog owner and step in this dog's feces because the dog owners pay taxes? One councilor said, and this made the most sense of anything I heard here, I wouldn't buy microwave popcorn if I didn't have a microwave oven. People shouldn't buy dogs if they don't have adequate resources to care for the dog. Maybe a hamster would be a better choice. And another councilor said we were avoiding a lot of land dogs can use. Most land is privately owned and off limits. Recreation land, excuse me, is off limits. One conservation park is off limits. Another councilor said, let's set up a committee so the councilor will have the right thing. The CC and the town planner thank you for your confidence in us. Some councilors complain the existing law is not enforced. Well, guess what? Whose responsibility is that? The TA and the council, that's whose. If you want to say a law is not enforced, at least recognize that you're the problem. The current police chief said from this podium that he would enforce our dog laws, and I know that he is. He did request that your laws make it easy to be enforceable. The council's effort in reviewing every property owned by the town to describe what dog activities could go on there was counterproductive. If an officer sees a dog on town property, he has to identify the property to see what's allowed there, and by the time the officer figures all this out, the dog is probably departed or died from old age. We, the CC, don't care where people bring their dogs, except in a few of our parks. Requiring a dog to be leashed is not a problem. Actually, it is a blessing. There are people walking their dogs on a leash and carrying mace, red pepper spray, batons, and even a Bowie knife for protection against other dogs. Our leash law is not the end of the world. Lack of a leash law could be for some. Now, that being said, I'll say that that law, when it came in here, or that request, was probably not offered in time for adequate review by the council, but you went ahead. And I was glad that you went ahead, because we wanted to get this law passed. But there was a point that, I raised my hand to be recognized, the town planner did, being here as a friend of the council, to offer our insight into why the thing was the way it was, instead of letting you figure out, well, what the heck do they want that for? But we weren't recognized. I don't feel under those circumstances of being the individuals who put this together that we should have been considered like part of the public and not allowed to speak at a work session. I think it might have made things easier. The one thing I think that probably led to this type of thing was that you went forward. If you didn't have enough time, you should have asked some questions that you wanted answered and send it back, fix it, bring it back here, instead of going forward. I don't think the laws that exist now is going to be much help for us. I think it's cumbersome, difficult to enforce, and I also believe that it is not a big hassle on anybody to have their dog on a leash or run around in other areas where it's permitted. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dalrymple. Is there any other comments from the public? Yes, sir.
Fred Pearson, Bay Road. The long list that was at the working session indicating where town properties were, et cetera, went through a culling process in the working session. There was one parcel there, 1-39, and that is not owned by the town or controlled by the town. Nature Conservancy is listed. Nature Conservancy has an easement on that property, and I am the owner, and I'm requesting that if that has not been deleted, 1-39, that it so be deleted. Thank you.
I wish I had that one.
It's not on the list.
That's not.
At least I don't see it.
I don't see it either.
It's not there, Mr. Pearson, it's not there.
It's been deleted. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Wrong list.
Yes, ma'am. Can you come up to the podium and state your name and address, please?
My name is Candy Capello, and I'm on Piscassic Street. I'm very new to all of this. It's like my first time I've ever been to any of this. In case you're wondering, I'm from New York. So I really don't know the laws or anything. I know there's a leash law, which I have no problem with at all. I went over here to the town clerk to find out areas that you can go and let your dog loose so they can get exercise and stuff, but they did not have a list for me. They said it was in a working process.
Mm-hmm.
Are there such areas here in Newmarket that you can?
Well, there's either going to be, after we vote, either there is going to be or there's not going to be,
You mean it's
depending on
either
how
like-
the council votes tonight. So tonight is the night, and either there will be a list or there won't be a list, depending on...
So it's either all or nothing, like, in other
Well,
words, it won't
if
be like
it was voted down, then it would probably go back to be revised.
that certain areas you can?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you also discuss about the problem with dog poop?
All the time. It's one of our regular agenda items.
Well, I constantly have, do you have a law or like a fine?
Yep. People are supposed to carry bags with them. If they're seen walking their dog and they do not have a bag with them, I believe that whether the dog goes to the bathroom or not, we can enforce a fine. Is that correct, Chief Sear?
Well, not unless they go to the bathroom.
Oh, they have to go to the bathroom? I
What
thought you
kind of
had to have a
fine?
bag on you.
Well, there's a search and seizure issue if you try to stop somebody to search them for a bag. You don't have to produce that until the time that they actually need the bag.
Okay.
And
Thank
believe
you.
me, I know a lot of people who carry bags just for the look of it. Okay? Well, you know, and if nobody's around, they don't pick it up.
You're from New York. Did you guys have this problem in Central Park?
We have, in New York, you had a $100 fine if you did not pick up your dog poop. But that's if somebody, you know, you can't turn around and say, okay, he didn't pick up his poop. I mean, it's got to be a cop there seeing that they did not do it, and which is very hard to enforce. And I have fights with people all the time. I mean, I pick up my dog poop, and I see other dogs poop. I pick it up, too, because it's ridiculous. It looks terrible, and I know what's going to happen. You know, it's going to happen that you can't bring your dog anywhere, so I try to clean up. And even speaking to certain people, it's like, yeah, okay, ma'am, thank you very much, you know. What I'm concerned about is how do you enforce that? I mean, we used to have signs, $100 fine if you don't pick up your poop. I know down the end of Piscassic Street there's a little woods, and it says, you know, do not enter unless you have something to pick up your dog's, excrement, whatever. What does that do? You know, I'm just wondering, how do you enforce?
This is what I think. I think it's going to come from everybody in this community holding each other accountable. If you see someone and you're not a police officer, friendly reminder, geez, you know, it'd be nice, we have nice parks, nice downtown area, nice property, nice streets, please, can you pick up your dog's mess? It's got to come from everybody. It can't, the police can't be walking around.
I spoke with my condo unit, and like every year, I give a list. I know which ones are not, and they send out a letter, and it just doesn't do anything. I just wanted to say my piece.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And welcome to Newmarket.
Thank you.
Somebody else? Yes, sir.
Good evening. My name is Kirk Dorsey from Bass Street, and I was also at the working meeting I guess it was late June. And I would just like to commend the council for addressing the property issue the way you did. Obviously, we would see differently on, on how the property listings were there. I thought you did a good job of dividing up the properties into which ones were eligible for off-leash and on-leash activity, and I thought it was a realistic assessment. We have a dog. We live in a condo complex. When we came here, we understood we could take the dog on leash at certain places and possibly off leash in certain places. And I think we've taken bags, and not for show. Candy and I have met many times in the park at the end of Piscassic Street. And if I had any request, it would actually be to consider, unless it would cause everything to go back to another working session, maybe the park at the end of Piscassic, making that an off-leash area, because it's pretty tightly constrained by the rivers there. I know there's been a lot of off-leash activity there that's been pretty well regulated. And I think the cleanup issues have nothing to do with whether the dog is on leash or not. It's just whether or not the owner is responsible. So we leave our dog off leash at places like Grapevine Hill, but we still keep an eye on her and clean up after her. So that would be the one request I would have for a change, unless it would cause this whole thing to go back to another working meeting, which I'm sure nobody wants to see. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there any other comments? Mr. Rayski.
I don't believe I'm allowing myself to be drawn into this, but I've been watching it on TV and I just can't help myself. It's bizarre. I don't think this much conversation has taken place about nuclear disarmament that we spent on this ordinance. The chief made an excellent recommendation, and I would submit that the council consider it. There's an old acronym, KISS, keep it simple, stupid. When you start creating an 8-page document and expect the police department to enforce that, I think you're expecting a lot more than you should be. My suggestion, and this is just my thought, if a dog is off your property, or if they're not on your property, or the property of someone that you have permission to be on, then the dog's on a maximum 4-foot fixed leash. And if you're on property other than your own, or someone whose property you have permission to be on, and your dog goes to the bathroom, you pick it up. Retractable leashes, I don't think should be allowed. It defeats the whole purpose of a leash, because now the dog can go however long those leashes will go. And I guess some of them, I saw one couple probably 3 weeks ago walking up by the church, and they had a retractable leash. They're on the sidewalk, and the dog is on someone's front lawn going to the bathroom. So it defeats the purpose of keeping the dog with the owner if you allow that leash to go out 12, 14 feet, or however long they'll go. I think if you keep all dogs on a leash, you eliminate all questions, you eliminate all issues. I like your suggestion. I mean, it seemed out of frustration, but I think it's probably the best way to go. You just don't allow dogs anywhere unless you're on a leash. If you have a dog and you want to own a dog and you want it to be able to run, then you have property that you can allow your dog to run on. You don't expect the town to provide that for you. You have to have that provision when you get the dog. I mean, you own a dog, you have to take it to the vets to get shots. You have responsibilities to the dog. If you want it to be able to run, then you have to have a place that it can run. If you're expecting the town to provide that, I don't think that's a reasonable expectation. we have a tendency sometimes, I think, to overregulate and try to overgovern the people. And that's one of the dangers of government altogether, is that sometimes they try to do so much for so many people that they get overprotective. I think you should just make it all dogs on a leash, fixed leash. I tried to look for it in the ordinances and I couldn't find it, but the old ordinance. But I think the old ordinance would work. You're trying to regulate values, you're trying to regulate common sense, and you cannot do that. The chief, I think, will attest to this. I just retired after 27 years last November, and the two things that I never look forward to are January and July, because those are the two times of the year that all the new laws came out. And now you had to take all the special interest groups that went before the legislature to get amendments to laws or modifications to existing laws or created new laws. Now you had to try to keep up with those. I don't think it's a reasonable expectation of our police department to follow people around or to be on watch for people's dogs going to the bathroom when you have criminal laws and you have motor vehicle laws that I would much more rather see them watching for and being observant of than for someone walking their dog and the dog going to the bathroom. They see a dog walking off leash, that's easy enough to address. It's quick, it's easy, it's clean, and there's no issues. To identify a dog going to the bathroom, I think you're asking an awful lot, and you're trying to regulate values. You can put it in the ordinance, but I think to come down on the police department that the police department should be enforcing this, I think is an unfair expectation. Let's just keep it a leash law and expect people to do the right thing. My last comment, as long as I've lived in this town, and I've walked many, many miles in this town, and my kids have played in a lot of different areas in this town, both public and private, and as I weeded my garden, I try to think of one time in my life that I've stepped in dog excrement anywhere on town property, or my kids have fallen in dog excrement on any place on town property, and I couldn't come up with a single event. So unless this is a big issue for one person, I don't know where the whole thing even started from, because I don't see dog excrement as being something that's tantamount to a health hazard in Newmarket. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? Yes, sir. Come on up.
My name is Peter Menigan. I live at 20 Beach Street in New Village with my wife, Dorothy. We have a dog. Just a couple of general comments that might be of benefit. It's my expectation, and I haven't had an opportunity to look at the enabling ordinance, but if you look at your enabling authority for the creation of conservation land, I'd be very much surprised if it didn't speak, at least in part, as to recreation and enjoyment for the residents of the town. Some of those people have dogs, and access to that with dogs, subject to proper control and certainly picking up any waste that's generated, I think is a legitimate use among many for conservation land. And I think you want to recognize that these are acquisitions designed to benefit all of the people of the town, and there are different segments that are affected. Lastly, I think it's been suggested earlier that some bodies of public land based in particular locations be places where dogs may run it without leashes. You might consider doing that, at least allowing such use for certain hours of the day, but not others, perhaps early in the morning and then again in the evening. In any event, there are a number of ways that you can address that. It's certainly appropriate to require people to pick up after their dogs and to exercise control over them, but I'd like to urge you not to sweep too broadly when you're looking for solutions. Don't throw out some real recreational value along with trying to keep areas clean. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else? Mr. Velotica.
Just one quick.
I know the microphones don't work in here, but they work on TV.
I haven't read that yet, which I should. Do you have something, what happens if somebody blind has a type of dog? Is that in your, that you allowed a dog to go down a place that you're not allowing other dogs to go?
Well, generally, I would believe that dog might be on leash or on a...
Well, to be on a leash, but I'm just asking if you thought
No,
of that.
I don't believe there's anything in there regarding-
If anything is in there on that.
Is there?
because You may be stopping somebody that has a CNI dog that can walk into the store and everything, you know?
What section, Clay?
That's towards the end of the ordinance?
17.17.
I think it's in there.
All paragraphs shall now be applicable to service dogs.
17.117 is penalties.
Italics after it.
Yeah, there's an italicized section.
It was added.
Where is
I don't
that?
have it.
Yeah, he does, right?
The bottom of page 6, Phil.
Oh, service dogs, okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
So the only section that does apply to service dog is violations.
okay, thank you. Is there anybody else? Okay, I'm going to close the public hearing, and Counselor Jerry Hamel, then Counselor Brian Hart.
Yeah, I guess I was kind of surprised with Mr. Dalrymple's presentation. I thought we addressed the Conservation Commission's concern and went a step beyond and came up with some other parcels, but I guess I believed that their concerns were addressed. If there was something that we were missing, I guess I'd like to know, but I guess my intentions were that what they were asking for be addressed, but not only what they were asking for. I think it was a good move to go beyond what they were asking for and do a little bit more.
Counselor Hart and then Counselor Wilford Hamel, I'll let you address that.
I agree as well, Counselor Jerry Hamel, because I'm actually a little irritated at his comments because the Conservation Commission brought forward a proposal, and we have the responsibility to review it and revise it, and to suggest that we should have just taken it and done it, which was the underlying tone, is really frustrating. First of all, on the books right now is an ordinance that says you have to control your dog. So there's no requirement for a leash. If you can tell your dog to stop, lay down, and pretend to be dead, and control it, no matter what's happening underneath the current ordinance, that dog can go anywhere in town. Well, that's pretty unrealistic. There's very few dogs that can do that. So more and more towns like Portsmouth are passing ordinances that say you have to be on a leash. And this is what this does. Right now on the books we have an ordinance that says you have to pick up your dog poop. This continues to do that, so there's no change there. It increases the fines if you don't, which is a good thing, because I live on Beach Street. I probably walk by your house with my girlfriend's dog on a fixed leash, no retractable leash, Herb, and pick up the dog poop. And I occasionally, recently saw their other dog's poop. I wasn't generous enough to pick it up, but maybe I'll start doing that. I was trying to figure out what kind of dog was capable of that size.
Let's not go there.
So anyway, and then, you know, the Conservation Commission is rightfully concerned about particular parks that they have the responsibility for. And we took their concerns and addressed them. They're directly in here. And we took it a step further, as Jerry said, because there are other properties that probably make sense and probably don't make sense. This isn't an 8-page ordinance. It's 5 pages. And there's only 8 properties, although there's like 32 tax parcels, 8 properties where you can have a dog off leash. Grapevine Hill, Tuttle Swamp makes sense. The land behind the Public Works facility makes sense, although no one's probably ever going to go to it. The land over on Leda Lane, which is about 15 or 20 different parcels, but in reality it's about a 25-acre area. The Loisel-Piscassic River area, which is a 45-acre parcel. That's 2 different properties. So if you want to make it simpler so it's not as confusing, you can just label them Leda Lane and then put all the properties that make up the tax parcels in parentheses. All these properties are going to need signs because to help people who are visiting the property know what the rules are. This is not a priority for the police department, nor it should be. But if an officer's out and there's a dog in the riverfront park going to the bathroom, the officer should, if they see it happen, fine the person. The other thing we need to do as a town is put up the little bag dispensers and have trash cans at the parks where dogs are allowed. So people can, if they forgot their bag, which occasionally happens, or it slips out of your pocket, which happened to me, I actually stopped at Michael Russo's house and said, "Mike, can I have a bag?" He gave me one, so thank you, because I know he's watching. and pick up the dog poop. So this is one step. It addresses the areas that we think as a council makes sense to allow dogs off leash and where they should be on a leash. And then by exemption, all the areas that are not on here, you can't have a dog walk on. So I'd like to make a motion to adopt the ordinance 2005-06.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, and Council Wilfred Hamel?
I'd like to address the council, but first, possibly to address those in the audience.
Certainly.
The woman from New York, thank you for picking up after everyone else. The main reason why this started was, and it ended up into a nuclear disaster, was the problem that the Conservation Commission is having in their parks, and at the same time we thought we'd be helping the town on the main streets, the gardeners with their flowers, and everyone. The safety of everyone walking on a street with a leashed dog, 8 feet maximum leash, versus an oncoming person with no leash, for instance with a pit bull. The safety involved here also. It is a big issue. Conservation Commission took, I think, 3 meetings, an hour and a half apiece. One of our members took it upon himself to rewrite the thing to suit the council. We didn't try to play God on this, but we felt that the let me go somewhere else, and I'll address the council on that. Fiscasset Street, the little wooded area, is a must to have a dog on a leash because it's surrounded by the Lamprey River, and if you let a dog go loose in a place such as this, you're not going to chase after him and find the poop. It's going to drain into the Lamprey, if that's what you meant. This is...
I will. I have. So, yes, I would.
Yeah, good for you. Good for you, sir, and everyone else that would do that, but Piscasset Street boat launch area was the main reason why this all started. It was an awful mess. We had contractors down there working that had to take their shoes off when they got into their truck. I think it's a little better now. And to try to get strict on this, you can't expect an officer to be there. I say it myself a few times, even if the chief is sitting here, where's the cop when you need him? You know, but you can't expect them to sit there. It's waste all their time on dog poop. But rather than be overly strict and post all the conservation land prohibiting dogs, we're trying like hell to, to make this leash law succeed. In defense of the Conservation Commission with the council now, again, we weren't trying to play God. It's just that we worked on this for our own purpose and to help the town. And we had the feeling after the first council meeting that it got all tore apart. More time was spent on dog parks and retractable leashes than the problems that we had. So, like, for instance, I think we're going to have to scratch one of the small parks that conservation has. I don't know how it got on there. I was probably sitting here sleeping. It was close to midnight. It's a little area where if you let your dog out one leap and he's on private property, I think it's Riverbend Education Area, and that also, the whole stretch of it is along the Piscasset River, maybe a few hundred feet from what used to be our drinking water, or could eventually also, again be that.
So you're saying excuse me, U1 1-4P.
There should be all 3 of them.
1-4, yeah, that's got to be, that's under the
Oh, you want...
no
oh, I
leash?
see. That's under no leash, yeah.
You want that under leash? Is that?
What do you want, the under leash?
At least, yeah. And, you know, being right on the river like that, we're gonna try it like that for now. Let me think for a minute. There are some places where the commission would have a little breathing space here where if this leash law on conservation property doesn't work, we'd like it written somewhere that we have the rights to post it prohibited. Like for instance, there's one now down at the new Shanda Park, which is kind of ridiculous, we found, to let a dog in there at all. It's not only the feces, it's when he has to urinate. It's burning the grass, burning everything, so you trying to have something nice, you gotta be meanie once in a while, I guess. So we're trying to post property under a leash law that we would like without going as far as total prohibiting animals. So, my last one is a question. I've got a memo here from Brian, proposed changes to the dog ordinance June 15th. And the dog ordinance, Brian, you nail me anytime you think I'm off track here. The dog ordinance came out this was June 15th, the dog ordinance came out June 16th, so did this go through the chair or through the council somehow, or is it?
I brought it to the meeting.
What's that?
I brought it to the meeting and distributed it myself during my comments.
At the last meeting?
Yep.
This is your recommendation at the last meeting?
Yep, but then at that time, we got Herb's revised one that he worked on with Clay that did a lot of this. And then we worked on it as a council. So actually, some of this I wouldn't necessarily agree with at this point.
Yeah. I'm just wondering, did we vote on striking 1712 on page 1 where he had set boundaries? We spoke about it. It's on page 1. It's the...
Within the bounds of the following area.
Within the bounds of the following.
That came to us this way.
Yeah. It came to you...
No, we did, if I may, I recall discussing, I made a comment that I didn't think that made any sense because it was very hard to enforce. And we had to sign the area, something to that extent. And my sense was most of the council agreed. We made a lot of changes by revision. I went through a whole list of changes.
Oh, last time.
At the last meeting.
Yeah, because it came unstruck like this.
Yes, it did originally.
Yeah. So I thought it made sense. To me, it was allowing a retractable leash in some areas. I mean, we're trying to appease a lot of people here. So I don't know why we want to take this out. I've got a couple more questions on the ordinance. Okay?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, short ones. Clarify for me, page 1, where it says at large. Again, we have not under, the old ordinance states, or under the physical control. In other words, you didn't need a leash. This one here says not under, meaning no leash, right? Physical control, to me, means a leash. It doesn't mean a dog obeying.
At large, off the premises of property or property of the owner while not on a fixed leash of 8 or less, or a retractable leash of 15 or less, not under the physical control of responsible and not confined within a vehicle.
So you could be on a leash,
But out of
running
control.
around, because my hand slipped off the leash. Then you'd be at large, but with a leash on. Do you see what I mean? So I taking my dog for a walk, and he slips through my hand. The leash is dragging behind him. He's on a leash,
Yeah.
but he's still at large because he's not under my physical control.
Okay, this is clear. Okay, yep. Because we get plenty of questions on this. These might sound simple, but boy, they're hard to answer if you know, unless you're you're all together. Same page, bottom bullet, or other authorized, the person who has authority, animal control officer, police officer, or other individual authorized. Who authorizes and who is this character?
Animal control officer, police officer, or other individual authorized to enforce the provisions of this chapter and such. Who would an other person?
So you've named them all, the animal control, if you have one, or you have a police officer, who's the other one? Anyone?
Clay, would it be safe to assume the code enforcement officer, since he's the health officer for the town? If it's a health issue? I mean, you wrote the language, so, right? Or, I'm just wondering if you have an explanation for, or is it just like a catch-all clause in case the state allows other people to enforce, like the Conservation Commission?
I think that if this council chose to authorize somebody else to enforce it, that you would be able to do it without rewriting the ordinance. And that provision provides you with the authority to do that. So if it is the code enforcement officer, the building official, health officer, then you may do that without having to go through a complete ordinance redrafting.
Talk to the chief. Chief Seer, what do you think of that? Would you allow someone in town to go out, someone without a badge or someone that hasn't been trained to go out and do something like this?
Well, it's up to the council. The council's where you get the authority to do that. I believe that the only law enforcement officials that statutorily have authority to enforce town ordinances are the local police and maybe the sheriff's department. I don't even think the state police can enforce town ordinances, can they? Well, any law enforcement officers. But if you give this authority for this particular ordinance to any constable or town official, they would have the authority to enforce it, and it would be binding. But it would have to be something that the council would give that person the authority to do it.
Okay. Thank you. That's it? Except? Retractable leash. I just never believed in them. Every time I've seen one in use, the dog was enjoying freedom. And I know it seems...
Excuse me, Wilfred. Part of the reason sometimes people can't hear is because of all the commotion in the back. I know this is long and mundane, but we're trying to get through it, and we've heard your public comments, and the council would like to just have their opportunity to discuss it further, and then we'll move on. I'd appreciate it if you'd help us out with that. Thanks. Go ahead, Wilfred, I'm sorry.
Whether having nothing at all, I'd go for the retractable leash. And even I think that it makes a happier dog on a longer leash. He's out there, he has more fun, but the flowers don't. So that's it, thank you.
Thank you, Wilfred. Is there any other comments? I believe there's a motion on the table, but Wilfred had suggested, I don't know if this is considered a minor change, switching it from one area to another and we can just do it, or if we have to rehear it.
I think we can amend it once we've had the public hearing.
Okay. All right, so we're going to take On page 5, the third property on the list under, well, at the top of the page, U1 1-1A, access to Piscassic, U1 1-4-P, Riverbend Road Education Area, Piscassic River Natural Area, and U1 1-1P Park Area, and we're going to put that on a leash. It is a small area, I have to agree. And I believe there is a motion, correct?
Jerry and I.
Okay.
So,
Go ahead, Wilford.
so if we go for this, with the retractable leash again, couldn't we, unscratch that second bullet on page 1, 17.1.2, and allow certain areas?
That's saying that they can't be on a retractable leash in those areas. Is that correct?
Like it's allowing a retractable leash, but there's a limit on where you're gonna have them.
Is there any counselors that disagree with that? Change?
I do.
Do you want to argue?
Nope. There's two minor grammatical things to fix. Unless we want to have a formal, unless the rest of the council wants to proceed with a vote on that, that's to amend it that way. But I just have minor change.
Okay, why don't you, let's do all the changes.
Well, on page 3, section 17.1.7, killing dogs, on the 5th line, there's a semicolon that's not necessary because the word distemper was cut out. So just, any dog that is located without proper identification that is suffering serious injury or other apparent serious illness, so you don't need the semicolon.
Right.
And then the same page, 17.1.8, letter D, 1D, you need another parentheses at the end of the sentence before the semicolon. Because,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, I'm not sure what the right way to explain that is, but.
Okay. Is that it?
That, yep.
And Wilford's suggesting that we put back in, within the bounds of the following area, the use of retractable leashes shall be prohibited, bounded on the east by the Lamprey River, on the north by Elm Street, on the west by railroad tracks, on the south by South Main Street, and continuing down Creighton Street to the Lamprey River. Counselor Jarvis.
I'd like to suggest, and maybe this would work for him, if we just take out the retractable leash, because the retractable leash only retracts when the dog is close to you, so it doesn't help you bring the dog in any faster. So saying that a dog under a fixed leash of 8 feet or less, or a retractable leash of 15 feet or less, it's just, if, it doesn't make any sense, why we can't just say of a leash 8 feet or less? And then if it's retractable or not, it's still within those boundaries of the, do you see? So it's taking out retractable leash. It's not allowing you, if you have a fancy retractable leash, you get an extra 7 feet, is what it's saying in this ordinance. So let's just take
Where are
out
you?
retractable leash on page 1, and just write off the premise or property of the owner while not under a leash of 8 feet or less. So it means everybody has to have their dog on a fixed leash, period. Or
On a leash of
or
8 feet or
8
less.
feet or less,
It could
right.
be
It could be
retractable.
retractable, but it's basically,
spring.
it's giving everybody the same distance, no matter what kind of leash you have.
Is that, so we wouldn't be adding in that bottom section?
Right, just
Okay,
scratch
so
that off and change that.
8 feet or
Thank you.
less, period.
That's yours.
That's fine with me.
So we're crossing out, or a retractable leash of 15 feet or less.
And the word fixed. So it just says,
Leash.
off the premises of property of the owner while not on a leash of 8 feet or less.
8 feet.
Okay.
I just heard 15.
8 feet or less.
Okay.
Okay, is everybody happy now? Okay. Can you call the roll? Hurry.
Aye.
Dick Lennon.
Aye.
Jennifer Jarvis.
Nay.
Jerry Hamel.
Nay.
Lori Capriati.
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 3-2?
4-2.
4-2.
Do you know he just voted on? Yes, I've been watching you on TV. I went home and had supper. Right down.
Okay, next item on the agenda. Introduction to amendment to ordinance 2005-08 Veterans Memorial Trust. Okay, this was to decrease the amount of, this was to decrease the amount of members from 7 to 3 to 5, 7 to 5. And is there any comments? Oh, I gotta read it, I guess it's the introduction. This will go to the next business meeting for vote, right?
No, we could vote on this tonight. This is it. We could vote on this tonight.
Okay. Do we do a public hearing on it? Because this says first reading. I think the agenda's wrong. This wouldn't be the first reading.
You're so low.
Okay, whatever. All right. Is there any other change? It's basically, we're just changing the number of members. Is there any comments from the public? None? Okay. Is there a motion to adopt ordinance 2005-08 relating to the decrease in the membership of the Veterans Memorial Trust Committee?
So moved.
Thank you, Counselor Glennon. Is there a second?
Second.
Counselor Wolfwood Hamel seconds. Any discussion? Okay.
Yes.
Oh, sorry, Brian.
The ordinance is not written the way that we wanted it to be written, according to the notes I wrote down. And I just wanted to point out to make sure we understand. And maybe you guys talked about it while I was in the bathroom, I apologize. But on the first page, if you go to the Article 2, Section 2.9, the Board of Trustees, first, there it goes 1, 2, 4.
Mm-hmm.
And number 4
yeah.
should be number 3, but number 4 still talks about 7 members. It says that the 3 members shall be appointed for a 3-year term, 2 for a 2-year term, and 2 for a 1-year. So altogether, that's 7 members. So we need to revise that so it says that there's 5 members.
Okay, so we need a
Should be
a 2-1-1?
Yeah, or 2-2-1.
2-2-1.
So 2 members for a 3-year term, 2 members for a 2-year term, and 1 member for a 1-year term. And then the other thing is that my notes, I looked back at it, my notes indicated, because we discussed it, was about the makeup of the committee.
Right, 2 shall be honorably discharged, but they didn't have to be currently serving, right?
Yeah, this says 3. It should be 2 have to be members of the armed forces.
Correct.
And 3 are at large. This says 3 are honorably discharged and 2. I don't really care, but what we said was 2 and 3, not 3 and 2.
Okay, so we need to change that.
Unless we want to do it 3 and 2. Doesn't matter.
You want 2.
So you're,
3 trustees.
On number 2, there shall be 5 trustees. It's the next sentence, 3 of the trustees shall be either honorably discharged veterans, etc. We had discussed it being 2 members.
Okay.
I don't have a preference personally.
should be 2. That's what we discussed.
So we did.
I think up at the top, too, the membership, oh, that's currently, never mind.
So 2 shall be, and then 1 will be a member of the Legion, and the remaining 3 members would be at the discretion of the council. So we'd still have 5 members.
Correct.
So you'd have to change the second sentence then to at least one of the 2 armed forces members.
Yep.
One of the, right now it's 1 of 3, so it should be 1 of 2.
Correct.
And then number 4 should just be relabeled number 3, because on the next page it has them before.
I saw something back.
I believe this is still consistent with what Ms.
Right.
Rosa brought forward to us.
Yep.
Madam Chair, my light's on.
Yeah, I'm not ready to call on you, but I promise I will.
Okay.
Okay, 2, and on changes, well, I'll give you a copy of this for corrections. Okay, Counselor Glennon?
The only thing is, even though I made the motion, if these changes are still made, we can still move ahead with this and pass it tonight. Okay, thank
And the
you.
minor changes. And we discussed it in a public
Okay.
hearing before. It just didn't get, it's almost like it didn't get changed. Is there any further discussion? Erica, can you call the roll?
Will Hamel,
Aye.
Dana Glennon,
Aye.
Jennifer Jarvis,
Aye.
Gary Hamel,
Aye.
Lori Caprioli,
Aye.
Brian Hart.
Aye.
Counselor. You should be saying counselor.
Yes.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is introduction to amendment to ordinance 2005-07, Cemetery Trust Committee. This was to increase the membership, correct? From 3
Yes.
to 5?
Right.
Well, I just want, again, I was at the bathroom, but we can't really pass that other ordinance because it was introduction tonight. So we introduce it, then we have,
Well, I know,
unless it was posted for a public hearing.
I thought it was, and I
thought
did
it
ask the
was.
public, and we had a public hearing on it last
Right.
time when Janice, I think it's wrong on the agenda.
You know what, we already had to cancel 2 meetings because we didn't have a quorum.
Yeah.
I want to spend the money that was authorized in the plaques.
I was confused on,
I think it is wrong on the agenda.
There's,
It can't be adopted.
I'm not trying to create a problem. I just don't want us to do it wrong because then it could be a problem in the future.
yep, no, I know.
If I remember it, Janice Rosa came to us and brought it up, but it was never,
Exactly.
it was never an ordinance that we had. She asked us to change it, so we changed it, and now we're bringing it to public hearing. So now we get the public opinion, and then
June 1st.
We talked about it.
we did, but it was never on the agenda. She brought it up in
We had it was on our June 15th agenda as a workshop item discussion of, so we've never introduced it. So tonight's the first step. If the council wants and if the chairman allows the next meeting of the workshop, we could hold a public hearing and do business at a workshop and vote on it in 2 meetings. But we really can't vote on it because you can't vote on an ordinance unless it's been introduced at one meeting and then have a public hearing at the next.
Okay,
We didn't post it for a public hearing. Same with the next ordinance. I think, because the next one was a discussion at the last meeting as well, so we never introduced it.
Okay,
Usually we introduce at a workshop, so the next business meeting we can have a public hearing and vote on it.
Is 2 weeks proper time for posting of?
Yeah.
It is.
It has to be at least 5 days.
here it is. Oh, discussion. Okay, you're right.
So we had just a discussion back
Yeah,
then?
it wasn't a public hearing. Okay, so I guess, how do you just cancel that vote?
I would probably, the motion should be to send it to the workshop for a formal public hearing and final consideration, as amended
Okay.
by our,
Are you making that motion?
yes.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Jennifer. Discussion? Erica, can you call the roll, please?
Will Hamel,
Aye.
Dana Glennon,
Aye.
Jennifer Jarvis,
Aye.
Harry Hamel,
Aye.
Lori Caprioli,
Aye.
Brian Hart.
Aye.
Okay, so introduction to amendment to ordinance 2005-7 Cemetery Trust Committee. I will read this out loud. This is an introduction. Whereas on May 4, 2005, the Board of Cemetery Trustees was established under Ordinance 2005-4, and whereas 2 more members are needed for this board, and whereas the membership is currently 3 trustees. The committee shall consist of 3 trustees appointed by the town council. This appointment will be made at the May organizational meeting. The term of each trustee shall be 3 years pursuant to RSA 289:6.1. In the initial selection, 1 trustee shall be appointed for a 1-year term, 1 trustee for a 2-year term, and 1 for a 3-year term, in order that the terms of the trustees are staggered. Now therefore be it resolved that the Newmarket Town Council does hereby ordain that the Board of Cemetery Committee Trustees' membership shall be changed as follows. Section 2.11 Board of Cemetery Trustees, subsection 2.11.4 Membership. The committee shall consist of 5 trustees appointed by the town council. Appointment will be made at the May organizational meeting unless otherwise necessary. The term of each trustee shall be 3 years pursuant to RSA 289:6.1. In the initial selection, 1 trustee shall be appointed for a 1-year term, 2 trustees for a 2-year term, and 2 trustees for a 3-year term, in order that the terms of the trustees are staggered. This ordinance shall take effect upon its passage. Introduction date is July 6, 2005. Is there a motion to send this to public hearing and approval at the next business meeting?
Also move.
Is there a second? No second? Councilor
I
Jarvis?
wasn't going to second, I was just going to ask, can we make the motion to move it to the next workshop?
Sure.
As a public hearing? It just speeds the process up.
Sure.
Okay.
I'm in my...
That's why I didn't second it as well.
Okay.
Okay. Well, are we in the wrong order here of doing this? Is that what's happening?
No, we're doing this one right. We did the last one wrong.
We usually do the introduction at a workshop.
Okay, so this is a business meeting, so we're doing this, sending it to a workshop?
To be voted. We're kind of, most of the time, Dana, what we do is we do introductions at workshops, and then we vote on them in public. And I think that's probably part of the confusion as to whether this was really an introduction or a public hearing tonight. So, we're going to just do it kind of backwards this time, but we're still, the motion that we'd like to entertain is that it goes to the workshop in July.
For public hearing.
For public hearing.
Okay, for a public hearing.
Yeah.
And that's the motion I'll make.
Okay, is there a second? Thank you, Councilor Jarvis. Councilor Hart?
Nope, thank you.
I just have a quick question. So that these 2 ordinances will be part of a public hearing, because usually at workshops, the public's not allowed to
Correct,
talk.
but
So
we're going
this
to
will
post
be
for public
post
hearing.
separate, and they'll get to speak, whoever wants to.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Discussion? Erica, can you call the roll?
Nay.
Aye.
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 Okay. Now, this next one, I'm kind of confused.
There's vacancies on the committee.
Oh, there is, okay, I was saying, we're appointing people to one committee, we're decreasing. Okay, Town Council to consider nominations, appointments, and elections, Veterans Memorial Trust Committee. And we have one application for appointment by Keith Rayesky with a term to expire May 2007. Is there a nomination on the table for Mr. Rayesky?
I nominate Keith Rasky for the Veterans Memorial Trust Committee to expire May 2007, and just Mr. Pickering is waving his hands.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'll second it.
Just a point of information, when you take the roll, and it's not the secretary's fault, but the chairman needs to be tallied last on all roll calls.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And the name counselor should probably be addressed to that, too.
I can't hear you?
Counselor should be used also when calling the roll call. Protocol.
Okay. Is there any other nominations?
I second that one.
Okay, is there any other nominations? Okay. Erica, can you call the roll, please?
Councilor
Aye.
Councilor Phelan.
Aye.
Councilor Jarvis.
Aye.
Councilor Carrie Miller.
Aye.
Councilor Brian Hart.
Aye.
Councilor Lorraine Taylor.
Aye. Okay.
And
Yep.
usually Al just tallies it, just so on the record it says pass 6-0.
Oh, yeah.
Just to make
Okay.
it simpler. So you could say that, or you could say, I don't know.
Okay.
Reminder for ourselves.
Okay, we are not doing item number 6. That's being continued because the town administrator is not here tonight. He's attending the wake for Michael Gill. So that will be put on the workshop in July. And he did write it up, so if you have questions, we'll just defer until that time, or you can call him. Next item on the agenda is Town Council to consider old business. Fallsbrook update by Leo Fillion.
We gotta get up before midnight.
That's like it.
Thank gosh. I just left.
We were informed last week we was going to be getting our wetlands permit in, and it didn't come in, so I called Mary Courier, and she called Frank Richardson, and we received a reply from Frank this afternoon at 3 o'clock. I'll read it if Mary, the permit application is number 3 in my queue. It hasn't moved up in over a week because of other assignments precluding my issuance of wetlands permit. I expect to have the permit issued this week. I'm sorry about the delay. I'm making the 75-day turnaround time on most applications. Although this application was received April 14, 2005, the clock didn't start until the revised standard application was received on May 5th. If Al Dixon needs emergency authorization to start earlier, I will do that, given the time it has taken to complete the process on this permit. Paul Suska of DES also asked me about this a week ago, and I told him the same. This is a letter to Mary. Copy went to Al Dixon and myself today, signed by Frank Richardson. So we should be getting it this week unless something else comes up. Jerry Hamill, Rick Molaski, George Laney, and myself met at the Forest Brook past couple of weeks, and we went over the list that we discussed of the projects that have to be done, and we've come up with, we're working on proposals of estimated costs, and that is pretty near ready. I would like to ask the council to authorize the town administrator to start the Forest Brook renovation process as soon as the wetland permit approval is received. We've been delayed by 2-3 months already, and if we don't get started as soon as possible to allow renewal of vegetation along Forest Brook, which is essential to getting clean water. We hope to get water from Forest Brook this winter, and it won't be as clean as it can possibly get, but the longer time it has for vegetation to grow in to filter out the water, the better chance we will get, and hopefully we'll be able to run some water through the plant this winter to see how we come close to meeting our disinfection byproduct standards and surface water treatment deals.
Leo, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
You said that you'd like to ask the council to have the town administrator start the process for Fallets Brook. I guess that's kind of vague. I don't know what you mean.
Well, basically, it's all been approved by the town meeting last year. The $50,000 has been approved, and really, we can't start any work until the wetlands permit is received.
Right.
And I would like to, rather than wait for another meeting after this, if this council could approve the town administrator going ahead with cleaning up the tasks that are approved in a wetlands application. Right now, he could give that authority to Rick Molaski, and the people involved could start. The important thing to me right now is to get the beaver dams removed as soon as possible. That will drain all the water from the upland wetlands areas that are now flooded. And as soon as that gets drained, vegetation will start growing. In fact, the dam that we took down last fall, that area that was completely devoid of vegetation now is loaded with grass. I wish my lawn was half as good as that. I mean, it's really nice grass, and I think it will naturally revegetate itself given enough time. And so I think that if we can at least get the dams removed and start draining the Forest Brook filter bed area, it's going to take a few weeks after that before we can actually think about doing any work. But I guess I don't know what would prevent the board from allowing the PA to start doing this work, seeing it's all been approved by town meeting and the money's been approved and everything, unless the board feels they need something else. I will call a meeting of the Forest Brook Advisory Committee as soon as our wetland permit does come in, so we can discuss it and give any recommendations to the administrator and Rick and whatever, if they have any.
Do we really need to authorize Al to do that? I mean, if we're ready to start, then why don't we just start?
Personally, I think it might be good to vote to authorize Al to proceed with the work, although, you know, we kind of already did that through the permit process because we voted to allow the permit to be applied for.
So it's just maybe a matter of communications to Al, just saying, look, Forest Brook's ready to proceed, so.
No, I don't know.
I just don't think we need to make I mean, I think it's redundant, but if.
Well, I thought all authorization of expenditures had to be approved by the council.
Well, I won't vote to authorize $50,000 without a proposal from you guys about the cost. We've been asking about the cost for a while. So
And you will have the cost within, Rick's working on it, Jerry's working on it, and it's going to be very rough because we really don't know how we're going to do a lot of this stuff until we drain it and see what type of equipment we're going to need to do it. And we will have a rough estimate within the next few weeks, but I don't think we should be waiting too many more weeks before we start draining this area up there. And that basically we're talking a day or 2 days' work at the most in order to get this drainage started, so we'll be able to start the process. You have any questions, Rick?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Leo,
Thanks, John.
is the work
It's longer than yours.
is the work all right, so say the beaver dam's the first step. Is that something that Rick's crew goes out there with the excavator and starts grabbing it, or do we have to hire someone? I guess I'm trying to figure out what are the out-of-pocket costs that you want us to authorize?
Oh, okay.
And how much is that? I mean,
okay,
do you want to do something like $10,000 and then we'll see?
Basically, the task that I put together was restore the access road to 3 well sites and prepare well sites for drilling. That's been completed. The second task was remove beaver dams, restore grades to stream bed sides, and that's going to take a day to a day and a half, probably $1,000 to $2,000. That's the second task. Then the third task we have is install sediment control filter fabric as shown on plan. Be another $500 to $1,000 at the very most. And before any of that gets done, we will have a more itemized cost estimates of that to you. It's just that I was trying to get these beaver dams removed as soon as possible so we can start the draining process and the revegetation of the wet areas.
Well, if I could then, I'll make a motion to authorize up to $5,000 from the, I think it's the Water Department's Capital Reserve Fund, the appropriate fund referenced by the vote of 2 years ago, to support the Forest Brook restoration as outlined in the permit.
Second.
Second, Wilfred Hamel. And motion by Counselor Hart, Counselor Glenn, and then Counselor Jarvis.
Counselor Hart, you said 2 years ago?
Yeah.
Is that not coming from the 50,000 that was appropriated this past?
There was no $50,000 ever appropriated. It was $50,000 was authorized to be expended from an existing fund. We didn't even need that vote. We already have authorization to spend money from an enterprise fund, but
So the 5,000 is coming from?
there's
The
no.
50,000
Yeah, what is
was,
that?
the 50,000 at the town meeting vote was authorized to take it from the fund balance, not from the
Wasn't.
capital reserve fund.
No, it wasn't.
Yes, I wrote it up, I should know. It was authorized to come out of the $1,036,000 fund
The
balance.
department, Leo, we have the authority to spend the money from the water department at any time by passing a resolution of the council. But it doesn't matter because we're making a motion to support the work you guys are doing. And I was just saying $5,000 because that's, seems to be in line with what you're talking about. And then at the next meeting, you guys can give a thorough update and we'll authorize more maybe, I don't know.
Can I jump in a second while you're talking about the money?
Sure.
Leo, I think we need a little more than 5,000 as far as, if we try to mow that area or
Oh.
drain that and get an excavator to do the diversion ditch.
I wasn't,
We
that's
just
not
need-
gonna be done within the next week.
You don't want to get that diversion ditch in right away?
That was the third item
Can
in
we
our
see
task
10?
tonight. After we get the dam down and the sediment control would be restoring the culvert and putting the diversion ditch in, you think that's gonna be done?
Well, I was thinking we could do that when we send the machine up. We need to get an excavator in there because we can't do, we need tracks. We don't have the equipment. So if we sent one in there for a couple days, we could get quite a bit of stuff prepared, I think.
Do we have a cost on it?
Are you talking $150 an hour?
Can we,
$175 an hour?
Can we even do that without a permit? I mean, I know the permit's real.
No, the permit does call for the construction of this diversion
Right, but do
ditch.
we, I mean, it's real and it's someplace, but don't we have to have that in hand?
Yeah. Emergency, though, they said that she would authorize it.
Okay, all right, that's all I'm asking.
We're not gonna do anything without.
Till the
without-
permit
Right,
comes in.
okay, so I'm just thinking, so, Rick, how much money do we need?
I would like at least $8,000 to get started.
Okay, Brian, do you want to amend your motion?
Amend it to $10,000 to make it simple.
Yeah,
Okay.
that works.
Who's the second? Who was the second? Wilfred, you agree? Okay, so we're going to amend that motion to 10,000 instead of 5.
And
Leo.
I still have my original question. Can I ask it?
Yep, can you
Um,
just make sure you put your light on in the future? Go ahead.
Oh, it was on. You turned it off. Everybody else started talking.
My light's on too,
Oh.
I don't know if it's showing up.
No, it's not on, Jen. It is now.
Rick.
Yes.
I'm thinking your name here. It's still, is that 10,000 coming out of the 50,000?
Dana, there's no $50,000 tucked away savings account for Falls Brook.
So we've authorized the expenditure up to...
We could always use that money. We could have always used that money. We did not need to vote to use that money. I mean, the public did. We could, if
Okay.
there was a viable water option out there, we could have taken that money without that.
Okay, so basically what it is, when they authorized the 50,000, was the expenditure up to that amount was 50,000.
I'm not sure, I don't want to get into a debate
Yeah.
with Leo or anybody else about what the vote was. We have over $1 million available for water system improvements. And for Al to expend that money on most capital projects, like upgrading the plant, he needs us to authorize to vote that. So we're just authorizing the expenditure for up to $10,000 towards the
Start
implementation of the
this
Falls
Start the
Brook
process.
permit process.
Okay, but it's still...
Whatever the
confusing to
particular
where
steps
that-
they
But,
want
I
to do,
mean, in
I
the
don't really
future,
care.
if it's more than 50,000 and it's a viable project,
Okay.
we don't have to go back to the, we can spend that money.
Okay.
So don't think you just have 50, you
Exactly.
see what I'm saying?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, yes. Thanks
Okay.
for the clarification.
$5,000 of the water department. Yeah.
Okay, it's understood now.
Be spent by the council at any time it wishes.
Counselor Jarvis. And then
So-
Counselor Hamel. Jerry Hamel, sorry.
the projects that are going to be done under this $10,000 umbrella will then, at that point, you'll come back and give us a better idea of what we're really looking at over there.
Yes.
Okay.
Just 10,000 just to get started.
Right.
To,
But you need this in order to tell us what's really going on over there, in order to get some of these
that would
projects
give us a
done.
much better
Idea
idea
of how much we're eventually going to spend.
Right.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, Jerry Hamel?
Yeah, my question is more on the wells. Have we heard anything on those RFPs?
I was told that the whole Hannah outfit had responded, and George took them up and showed them the sites, and they had no problem in getting in.
Microphone.
I understand that DL Mar was sent a proposal, and they've responded. DL Mar is not a well drilling rig, they're a water, well, they're the people who was hired by Dufresne Henry to do our water studies at the, for our aquifer protection area. They're a water consulting firm. But I understand they have responded. Those are the only two that had responded as of this morning. They supposedly sent 7 proposals out. They are, the last date I understand is July 12th for receiving of proposals. So we have until the 12th to get further proposals. I don't think we've received the proposal from, what's the outfit of Hannah's, the new outfit that bought?
Skillings. Skillings, right?
Skillings, yeah. They've been to the site, but I understand they haven't, is that coming in like on a bid type thing, or is open proposals at so-and-so date or anything?
I think they'll all be open on the 12th.
Oh, okay. I don't know how they put it up.
Thank you. Is there any more discussion by the council? Erica, can you call the roll, please?
Aye.
Counselor Dana Lynch.
Aye.
Counselor Jenna Jarvis.
Aye.
Counselor Jerry Hamel.
Aye.
Counselor Brian Hart.
Aye.
Counselor Lorraine Gabrielle.
Aye.
Okay, town council to Counselor Jarvis.
Can I bring up some other old business?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
I just wanted to find out what's happening with the parking committee recommendations and report, how that committee is coming along, or what's happening with that. I know that you're on it and Al was on it.
Oh,
No, we're not talking about.
I know what you're talking about, but that
just.
You mean NCDC?
Well, no, I know that the parking committee was formed by the town council. We gave recommendations to the town council, and that a committee was formed in order to review those recommendations, and I was just checking on the status of that.
That actually is part of the TIP 1 advisory board. It kind of swelled into that because they have to approve any monies or any expenditures. What we were doing was looking at different properties for acquisition. If that were to come about, the TIP 1 advisory board had to approve of it first, and the funds would have to come out of the TIP. So we're still debating those issues. We haven't come to any conclusion on that yet.
So basically, meetings have been had regarding those issues, and they've been had with the TIF advisory board.
Correct.
Okay, and I have one more, which is a follow-up on what's the current status of the solid waste ordinance? Is that supposed to be on the next agenda? Wasn't there a committee formed supposedly dealing with that as well?
It was sent to, the solid waste committee had a meeting, I saw it posted.
Right.
Who's
I'm
on that
not on the
committee?
committee, so.
No, that's the highway committee.
No, there was
Highway.
a special committee, I thought, formed to
Jerry,
deal with
can
that
you-
We have a
ordinance.
solid waste committee,
Yeah, I know we do.
so.
I thought Brian.
We had a meeting posted, and neither Brian Morrison nor myself could make that meeting, so we're waiting to get another one scheduled. So to answer your
won't-
question, we didn't have
Okay.
a meeting on that
So
yet.
it won't be on the workshop agenda then? right? Probably not, because you won't have a meeting before the next
If it
workshop.
was left for the committee to discuss, then no.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
Okay, anything else under old business? Okay. Town council to consider new business and correspondence. Is there any questions regarding the Highway Public Safety Committee meeting that they had June 29th? We received memos.
Yes, I have a question.
Go ahead, Dana.
The question I have is, why would the Highway Safety Committee be looking at the sale of the 152 Public Works building? Why does that fall under highway safety?
Because we made a motion to send it to them at the last meeting.
We did?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Counselor Hart?
Rick, when is the work on Elm Street scheduled?
The sidewalk,
Yeah. I saw they cut the line.
we started it, we'll have dig safe clearance Friday.
And I know someone mentioned to me that signs are going to go up on Beach Street for the one-way issue.
Yeah.
When's that going to
I
happen?
met with chiefs here today, we picked up the signs today.
Okay. There was a suggestion that the McDonald's who live next to me have lived there for quite a long time, and they recall there used to be a 15-mile-per-hour sign in front of their house until it got knocked down, and they were suggesting that it be replaced because
It's gonna be at 25.
that might be a little excessive for that.
It's the only thing that can be enforced.
Really?
It's the minimum we can post the street.
Oh, I remember hearing that before. I think that's something that we should get our state representatives to help us on, because that's not a safe speed for that road. There's way too many kids.
A one-way to put on your side of the street, so if you're going east, when you turn onto
You see it.
your road, you'll see it.
So it'll be on the telephone pole?
Yeah. And do not enter for, what is it, Sandy Street?
Yeah.
And do not enter for
Yeah. That on the corner of
Elder.
Yeah, Elder,
and Elm.
what is it, EFG?
Elder Forest Grape. Yeah.
Right, all of those, right? And we also could have signs
All
up
three of
there
them?
that slow children,
Caution.
caution.
Caution children at play.
Yeah, something like that, okay.
The only other question is, that's great, because that'll help. I saw more cars.
Saw the signs today.
Okay, that's great. People asking, and we've had an unbelievable number of cars this year. I don't know why, but going the wrong way. On Elder Street, there's quite a bit of pavement in front of that house that's for sale that's totally alligatored and fallen. Is that something that we can work on? Okay. Thank you.
Yep. Counselor Glennon?
To add to what Councilor Hart said, Rick, also Elder EF Forest Street also has a similar situation down at the bottom there.
Going down the hill.
Yeah, but I also noticed, is that a sidewalk there? Because I've noticed there's some buses parked there and there's cars parked right on the sidewalk, if that is a sidewalk.
I believe there's a sidewalk.
No? Okay, because it kind of looks like one, but yet it doesn't look like one. Chief Sears and I also had a conversation, I think I've had it with you also, the possibility of putting some of those side streets parking on one side only, and whatever the discretion you guys pick, I don't care if they park on my side, that's fine, I don't care, but I know one time I went to the police department because there was cars parked on both sides on Elder Street. There was a graduation going on, there was 2 yard sales going on, and that's a street that goes up and down, and you could not get 2 vehicles. In other words, there would have been 4 across. And my concern was you would not be able to get a safety vehicle up through there at all, so, probably something that should go to the Highway Safety Committee to review parking on one side. Thank you.
Thank you, Dana. Anything else?
Gloria?
Yes, Counselor Wilford-Ham?
See if Jerry would, when the next Highway Public Safety Committee, if we could look at Terrace Drive?
Yeah.
Just brought up tonight?
Yep, I wrote that down.
Okay.
Anything else? Okay, I need a motion to go into non-public RSA 91-A:3 2D real estate.
So moved.
Second?
Aye.
Aye.
I will second it.
Thank you, Dana. Erica, can you please call the roll?
Counselor Will Hamel.
Aye.
Counselor David
Aye.
Goodman. Counselor Jennifer Jarvis.
Aye.
Counselor Jerry Hamel.
Aye.
Counselor Brian Hart.
Aye.
Counselor Lorraine Caprielli.
Aye.
Is this summer?
Take a quick break.
Yes, go to the bathroom, I'm sorry.